Hello, welcome to another episode of Coach Pius Media Class. Today we are going to discuss something very essential as far as the media is concerned, and that is the media law. I know that for some people, including practicing journalists, I can tell for sure that there are some people who still haven't understood what the media law is all about in the Nigerian context. I would like you to know that the media in Nigeria took its functions from two chapters of the Constitution, and that is chapter 22, which talks about the role of the media, the press, television, and radio in holding government to account. And then you also have section 39, which also talks about the freedom of expression. You get the point, the fundamental right to freedom of expression. Now, even though that chapter of the Constitution did not speak specifically to the freedom of the press in expression, the fact that it gives you and me the right to express ourselves as citizens of this country automatically confers that status on the media to do so, because at the end of the day, it is individuals like you and me, that will operate the media. But to put it more expressly, in chapter 22 of the Nigerian Constitution, the media's role was clearly defined, which is primarily to hold government in trust for the people. But as free as the media is, the government of the day also has a responsibility to protect the people, even from this same media. And that is what has given rise to what you call the media laws and even ethics. And that's why there's a discipline in journalism, or there is an aspect of journalism that is called the media law, ethics, and professionalism, which is studied as a topic in journalism. In fact, it's a course in itself. Now, that is to help the society also check the activities of the media, because the media, also being operated by humans, has a tendency to abuse that privilege of free speech if certain checks and balances are not put here and there. And that is what has given rise to what you call the media law. And apart from the media, every other institution that is talked about in the Constitution is an arm of government, either the executive, the legislature, or the judiciary. And it is on this basis that the media is considered the fourth estate of the realm. And I know that's a technical term in the media that a lot of journalists are familiar with, but they probably don't even know what that means. What that means is that, given that constitutional role of the media, particularly in section 22 of the Constitution, the media is seen, albeit in a very subtle manner, to be the fourth arm of the government. Don't forget, we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And because the Constitution also mentions the media, as well as goes ahead to empower the media to do certain things in checking the activities of these other three arms of government, invariably the media is being referred to as the fourth estate of the realm. In other words, you can say that the media is the fourth arm of government. But it is difficult to now categorize the media as an organ of government, because the role of the media is completely independent of the government. Okay? It is supposed to check the activities of these three other arms of the government. And so, if your role is to ensure that these other ones do what is right for the people that they serve, it's a bit technical there to now want to categorize the same body as the others. Having said that, there are a body of rules or laws that have been made to also check the activities of the media. Because even in the biggest or the most developed of democracies in the world, which is the United States of America, you still have certain restrictions. As free as the media seems to be over there, there are still a number of restrictions which also give citizens and even organizations and even the government certain right to sue. Okay? And all of these things, both in the advanced democracy and the way we have it here in Nigeria, which is by all means still a developing democracy, revolve around about 4 or 5 concepts. These concepts include defamation. I'm sure you must have heard of defamation before. You know, it's a law of its own. There are certain criteria that make certain comments or write-ups or any publication defamation. I just mentioned the fact that you have the defamation law, under which you have libel and you have slander. Okay? We are going to dig deeper into that in our subsequent classes. After that, you have the law of sedition. What's the meaning of sedition? What acts amount to sedition? Okay? We are also going to look at that in subsequent classes. I know that we will not be able to combine them, but we may take defamation in one of the classes, and then in another class we take sedition. You also have the copyright laws. You know, as journalists, we should be familiar with all these things. As media consumers, as people who have interest in the media, we must learn to be very conversant with all of these things. We keep hearing of copyright law, copyright law, copyright law. What even amounts to copyright in the first place? Okay? What could lead to breaking the copyright laws? Okay? Now, apart from that, you also have plagiarism, which in itself is a form of copyright. But how is it different from copyright? How is plagiarism different from copyright? Of course, plagiarism is subsumed, you know, into copyright. But what difference exists between plagiarism and copyright? We will talk about this in our subsequent classes. Now, do you know that there are also defenses as journalists, as media people? There are defenses to some of these laws, particularly the defamation law and the what other law is that? The sedition law, the law of sedition. What that means is that if you are sued for defamation as a journalist, there are laid down defenses that you can latch on to get yourself out of trouble. That's the whole essence of you having an understanding of these laws. And there are quite a number of them. Okay? There are quite a number of them. One of which is what they call the res judicata. I think it's a Latin word in law. Let me just give you an insight, which means that a matter that has been judged before and concluded can no longer be used against you in the court of law as a journalist. So you as a journalist, that becomes a hiding place for you. There are a number of them, about 8 of them. I'm not going to list them in this class. Okay? We will take our time in subsequent classes to take them one after the other. Their definition, what they mean, and so on and so forth. How to apply them, where to apply them, and maybe give instances of some of these things. So that's what this class, that's just the summary of what we are going to be talking about. What we are trying to do is to touch the basics of these aspects of the media that we should, apply on a daily basis, but we don't even have idea what they are. So in our subsequent classes, we will take some of these things I've mentioned. Don't forget, I've mentioned some laws governing the operations of the media that tend to also put the media in check. That even though you have the freedom of expression, government also has to find a way to protect citizens and organizations from what could become the unlimited powers of the media. And that is why these laws exist. And you must know them as a media person. I repeat, you have the law of defamation. Now, there are certain criteria that make a case libel. We will look at some of these criteria. Okay? And then there is the law of sedition, like I said. We'll also look at that. We'll look at the copyright laws. We'll look at the plagiarism laws. And maybe a few other laws here and there that people may want to use against a journalist, of which the journalist should also be able to defend himself using some of those defenses that we're also going to talk about in the course of these classes. So I hope you must have picked one or two things in this class today. If you are yet to subscribe to my YouTube page, Coach Pius Media Class, kindly go and do so, and also help me to share. Because like I said, we need the numbers to keep encouraging us to do even more. There is still so much more that we are going to be doing together. So in our next class, we are going to look at defamation, okay, in its entirety. And then you will know what constitutes a libelous case. Thank you.